This is where it started. There's the first punch, Charles.
I mean, that's
You too little, Chuck. You too little, Chuck.
Right there.
Who's that? Oh! Who's that?
Offensive foul.
Talking about personal nemesis you may have had in the NBA. Kenny? Or are you just too nice a guy, you got along with that?
No, I think that my personal nemesis was actually in the NBA Finals. Derek Harper. Because Derek Harper, that was the last year of hand checking. And so Derek Harper was one of those guys who could control you with his hand. But then, when he got to the Knicks, when we played against Dallas, when he played with Dallas, you know, I don't think the stakes were as high at the time when I came into the league for him, because I didn't come into the league when they were going for championships. So his attitude was a little bit different. He was more of a nice guy. But the Knicks had the reputation of being this mean team, and Patrick Ewing and Oakley and physical. So he changed his whole persona. Even before the game, he wouldn't speak to you. Like before, hey, Kenny, what's up? Now it was like, yo, what's up? Yeah, you know, like, hey, who are you right now? So from that, and then he was getting the best of me for 6 games in the NBA Finals. So I really was just sick at Derek Harper.
Can you whittle down the list, Charles? I know we saw you hit Paul McHale with your wristband, and you know how much that hurts.
Well, the McHale thing was one of those guys who's out there trying to get you to hit him. Which you did. Which I did.
Good job.
Some of these guys back in the day, like Greg Kite, McHale, they like try to beat you down the whole game, try to make you lose your temper. You lose your temper. Lambeer just tried to knock the hell out of you. My personal nemesis is Kevin McHale, because he's the best player I ever played against. You could not stop him. I've always said that you could not stop that guy. And on the other end, I had to use every ounce of energy I did to score on him. That guy, when I looked at, because we all look at the schedule, we're like, okay, I can have some fun that night. Better get a good night's sleep that night. I mean, we all say the same thing about different guys, but Kevin McHale is the best player I played against, because he was unstoppable offensively, and he gave me nightmares on defense.
I think we can probably differentiate, too, between guys who were your nemesis, and maybe you respect their games, but they were really tough to play against, and then guys you just didn't care for. Shaq, you want to take a stab at guys you just didn't care for in a league?
Well, I didn't care for a lot of guys, especially most of the guys on this panel. But, the guy I hated playing against the most was Rick Mahorn. He had this move that was called pull the chair. See, as big guys, you know, they teach us to, you know, feel where the defender is. You can either go left, you can go right. But, you know, Rick Mahorn had a real big physical body. And, like, he had this move that he would lean on you. So as soon as you lean back, you wouldn't be there, and you fall. One game, I had him, and I already had in my mind, I'm going to spin baseline, give him the bow, hope they don't call a foul, and throw it down. But I leaned back so far he wasn't there, I damn near went to the 3rd row. They called a travel. I was like, so I hated playing against Rick Mahorn.
And sometimes, I mean, you may have an issue with guys. I remember earlier in your career, there was talk, you know, about David Robinson. You thought maybe David Robinson had
big time
at one point. Is that over and done with?
Well, nowadays that I'm retired, but if we had a game, it wouldn't be over. I just, you know, it was, you know, I had to find ways to motivate myself. So when I met Dave, he was nice, but he wasn't as nice as I wanted him to be. So it was like Dave signed his autograph, and he kind of, come here, big fella, and he just signed something. I couldn't even read it. I was like, okay. So if I ever see you, I'm going to get him.
You're mad at his penmanship.
That man made me cry in my little mom's Toyota. I was sitting there, man, I was so mad.
How about a C?
Man, I know the West Coast, the whole conference one year was my nemesis. When I think of it, kind of on the respect side, you say, I remember that it was from Charles in his older years to having to check all these guys in one season. These two, Kevin Garnett, Rasheed Wallace, Dirk Nowitzki, and I thought we had the best offense. And every night, you know, it was like, wow, you got to bring your A game and you got to figure it out. But older, Terry Cummings. Terry Cummings is the only man to punk me in my life in the air. Like, I came in the league a rookie, wanting to play, thinking I'm tough, and Ricky Pierce said, don't mess with Preacher Man. Like, Preacher Man? No, Preacher Man. And I give him a ball. He like, young fella, stop. And he touched me, and I'm like, okay, you got a nice, strong grip. I come back down, and somebody else fouled me, and he catch me with one hand out the air like your grandfather would, and just told you, say, listen, young boy, I'm telling you, don't throw no balls out here. Don't let Ricky pump you up to get in a fight. And that was the only time I was like, if I keep playing against him, he gonna be my nemesis. We didn't keep playing, but that's the one guy through the league I remember that he had that old man strength and put you in the vice grip.
How about it, Reg?
Look, mine's out of respect. I consider myself, you know, I'm being a little braggadocious here, but I consider myself the best shooter ever. But there's one guy that tops me. And he got underneath my skin. And the reason why he got underneath my skin is because a lot of times I couldn't understand what he was saying. And it was the late, great Dražen Petrović.
Oh, yeah.
This guy, when he came off screens and he started to talk to you, you couldn't understand him. He smelled like he never took a shower.
Maybe it was something complimentary.
No. Talk about wanting to strangle someone.
Yeah.
Dražen Petrović was my nemesis. I could not stand this guy, but to this day, I respect him because I think he is the best shooter I've ever seen in my life.
Better than Ray Allen.
The best shooter I've ever seen in my life.
And you concur, Steve?
You know, I'll go with Reggie. He got on your nerves because he talked, he pushed, and you couldn't understand him. He smelled, and he made you. He smelled. I'm gonna be honest, he smelled.
He did. We had to guard him.
He smelled. I'm gonna tell you my
Well, perhaps that was playing.
Say that on the
it was
panel.
no playing.
That was playing. Like I'm playing Reggie Miller tonight. I'm not going to shower for 3 days before that.
Mine was, you know, I'm a big Magic fan, going to Michigan State, so I'm gonna be a point guard in the NBA. Muggsy Bogues made me change my position. Picking me up 94 feet, Kenny. I mean, he turned me, he said, you're not going to play point guard for so long. And after about a year and a half, and Muggsy kept looking at me, smiling, every time we would play, he changed me from going from a point guard to a shooting guard. Next was Michael. And the reason why, I got to be honest, because, you know, you're trying to make an all-star game for me in the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
Michael Jordan was in already, no problem. So you only got one spot for the next two guards. So now I'm mad at Michael because if he went to the Western Conference, maybe I have a chance. But in the Eastern Conference, Michael winning championships, and you got me, Reggie, Joe, Penny, Allen Houston all fight for that one spot. So I'm a little mad at Michael for that.
Anybody really got under your skin?
No question. Kenny touched on it earlier. You play a playoff series and you go against a guy over and over again. It's inevitable. And we played Utah 2 years in a row, 6 games, so 12 games against John Stockton. And I have the greatest respect for him. I see him away from the court, love him, great guy, but he was a dirty bastard.
Whoa! Dirty bastard! Whoa! Steve Kerr!
I'm letting it out. I've never seen a therapist about this. This is my time to let it out.
There you go!
I can tell you feel better.
Take the couch.
Oh, my God. John was a person that would stretch the boundaries.
The PG version of what I said.
Am I allowed to say that word on TV?
It's already
You got it.
On NBA TV, you are.
I say a lot worse than that.
Come on.
No, not on NBA TV, I don't.
You can say dirty as
It's
much
like
as you want.
HBO. NBA TV is like HBO. I think that John understood there's a personal space law, and he understood how to invade that. And as a guard, you know, when I'm talking to you, Ernie, I'm going to talk to you here. But John, exactly.
It's uncomfortable even as we
Play the
speak.
kind of European way. A little bit closer than you said. You're shooting a jump shot. It's respect that a guy's shooting a jump shot that you can't block it, so you kind of just contest. John made like he could block it, and he'd get under your feet. Or when you're running out, the ball is out of bounds, he's running out. He'd like this trip that he would do, and all of a sudden the guy would trip and they throw the ball in at the same time, and he'd go down and lay it in. So he had a lot of those type of bastardly moves.
No. There's another. Okay. All right. Hey, last thing in this segment, Shaq. Everybody knows you and Kobe had something going on. Is it over and done with? Is everything cool? Is there anything still there from the time?
Is he still a bastard?
No, listen. When I was in charge of that organization, I was the leader. You know, I was always in CEO mode. So, you know, I wasn't really worried about the relationship. I was worried about the task. And Hersey and Blanchard states that you must worry about the task and not really worried about the relationship. So, you know, the task at hand was to win championships, and that's what we did. Now, if I see him now off the court with his lovely wife, his lovely kids, hi kids, I'm Uncle Shaq. Hello, Miss Vanessa. I mean, so, you know, for me, it's nothing there. Every now and then.
Everything's cool till the book comes out.
That's right.
One of the great quotes of all time.